What's going on, guys? Back again with another debate. It's a little late, but it's probably the latest debate we've had. But some things happened, but we managed to get through it today. Today's debate, excuse me, top 10 greatest NFL players of all time. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through. I'm gonna look up. I got players here that I'm gonna look up. Go through their stats. We're gonna go to certain positions. We're gonna start with offense first. We'll start with quarterbacks, and then we'll go into other positions and other things. But I'm gonna let my guests introduce themselves uh, first, and then we'll go into this first person. We'll start with Conrad, and then we'll go to Kyron.
Conrad Cushman from Everything Pro Wrestling. Thank you for having me on the show. Can't wait to talk about NFL.
Yeah, Kyron Chase. You know what? From Kyron Chase. Um, Once again, just ready to get started because this is gonna be a fun debate.
So we're going to start with we're going to start with the QB position first, and then we'll go into other positions because I figured it'd be easier that way just to go through positions, and then you can just go to instead of just naming out names from different players. You know what I mean? Like I said, if you guys have any names you want to throw out there, feel free to throw them out there too. Like always, you know how the debate is. So if you want to throw anybody's name out there, throw them out there. Um, real quick. All right. So first player, you already know who we got to start with. Let me go ahead and just read off everything here. The greatness that we're about to read right here. We gotta start with Tom Brady, and I really hope I don't got to fight for him to be on this list. Hopefully,
Just put him on the list.
let's see. 6 Super Bowl rings, four-time Super Bowl MVP, 3 times league MVP, 14-time Pro Bowl, three first 3 time first team, second team, NFL Offensive Player 2 times, NFL Comeback Player 2009, 8-time NFL Top 10 100, 3-time NFL Passing Leader, 4-time Passing Touchdown Leader, 2-time NFL Passing Rating Leader. That's an award, some type of award. It don't matter. Records, Jesus Christ, there's so many records in there. Most games won by a quarterback, 237. Most Super Bowl appearances, 9. Most Super Bowl wins, 6. Most Super Bowl MVP awards, 4. Most passing yards in Super Bowl, 505. Most Super Bowl passing touchdowns, 18. Most Super Bowl passing yards, 2,838. Most playoff game starts, 40. Most playoff game wins, 30.
We said put
Most
him on the
playoff,
list, Malik.
most playoff starts. I'm just going through the stats. Just going through the stats.
We get it. We said put him on the list.
All his accomplishments. That's one more thing. I gotta read this because this is the important part for the stats. For career wise, this is career wise right here. Passing attempts 19,375. Passing completions 6,004. Completion percentage 64%. Touchdowns 517. Interceptions 171. Passing yards 70,514. Passing rating 97%. Rushing yards. He ain't a running quarterback. I'm gonna read that. All right, so gotta put him on the list because we already know he's on the list.
Well, hold on here. You forgot one of the most important stats. Lifetime big time cheater as well. You know, happened to smash his phone. I think it damages the legacy a little bit of the guy.
Definitely does not.
Been investigated for cheating,
On multiple occasions.
On multiple occasions, there's
just saying. But at the end of the day, you can't deny the man's stats. Put him on.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Yeah, he's on there somewhere.
Really, he would have been really. I had him on this list after they beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl, but after a great performance against the Eagles, then winning one this year, yeah, there's no debate. Really, he's on the list. Now I don't know. Once again, we're not doing this in the order. I don't know if he's the greatest player of all time, but he's the greatest quarterback.
No, we're not doing this in a particular order. That was just. I mean, there were still more stats I had to read right there for.
Chill.
Also.
Yeah, we don't need to hear it.
There's still a lot more. All right, let's go to let's go to Peyton Manning. I'm gonna read some of his stuff real quick. 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 14-time Pro Bowl, 7-time first team, 3-time second team All Pro, 5-time NFL MVP, Pro Bowl MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, top five something I don't know what that is. NFL passing yards leader 3 times. NFL passing touchdowns leader 4 times. NFL passing rating leader 3 times. These are some of his records. Most passing touchdowns, 539. Most passing touchdowns in a season, 55. Most passing yards in a season, 5,477. Most regular season MVPs, which was 5. Most career game-winning drives, 54. Most career comebacks, 43. Passing attempts, 9,380. Passing completion, 6,125. Completion percentage, 65%. Touchdowns, 539. Interceptions, 254. Passing yards, 71,940. And passing rating, 96%. All right, Peyton Manning. Who wants to go first? Doesn't matter. Whoever wants to start off first.
Well, here's the thing about Peyton Manning. Since we're going by the top 10 greatest players, at most, I think we got to put him on a maybe because I don't think he's a top 10 player of all time. All those stats you named are great in the league, especially in the regular season. But when you look at what Peyton in the postseason, he's not the strongest. I mean, multiple first-round exits, especially when you had one of the top seeds. You've been one and done the playoffs multiple times. You only have 2 Super Bowls, and let's be honest. He carried the first Super Bowl, he beat Jay Cutler and the Bears. And second, when he got carried by the defense. So it's not like Peyton was great in the 2 Super Bowls he was in. He won. And you look at the amount of talent that man had and only one. I mean, you look at the receivers he had. First off, on the coast, he had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Arguably 2 of the top 10 best receivers in the 2000s. And then when you go to the Broncos in 2012, that team was so balanced, they lost to the Ravens. And then in 2013, they had arguably the greatest offense of all time. And he had arguably the best single season of all time. Individual season, that is. And then what happened in the Super Bowl? They got crushed by Seattle. Then 2014, they didn't make it to the AFC title game. In 2015, they won. But you look at, as great as Peyton Manning is, you look at all of his setbacks. And, this is where, he has Tom Brady beat in the regular season. But when it comes to the postseason, there's a reason why we would all take Tom Brady being times over Peyton Manning. And you look, and the amount, like I said, the amount of talent that Peyton Manning has had, and still he only has 2 Super Bowl rings to show for it. One of which, and neither Super Bowl game he won, he performed that well in. And you look at we always get on Brett Favre for his costly interceptions he's thrown, but it's not like Peyton didn't throw a bunch himself. 2 come to mind. And against the Saints in Super Bowl, threw the pick 6 that pretty much iced it. And then against the Ravens in the 2012 AFC title game, Peyton Manning, of all people, tries to throw a across-the-body pass scrambling that easily got picked off, which cost him the win. So his decision-making at times actually does hurt. And I think Peyton Manning, at most, we got to put on the maybes because I don't think he's a top 10 player of all time.
I love Peyton Manning. He's probably the NFL's most wholesome guy, but I'm 100% behind Kyron on this one. He's just had too many mishaps. Now, I'll say this to try to balance some of it out. Peyton Manning's biggest flaws, though, are also the reason why you love him. Those interceptions that he threw, similar to Brett Favre, is what's made him legendary, though. Being able to get it past defenses and, they didn't get the pick right there. And it's just like, completed pass. What a play. Peyton Manning is definitely one of the greats. I think he has to be a maybe. He has to be considered for the list, I still feel.
All right, I'll put him down for the maybes then. That's cool. We will write him down for the maybes.
Another question, Malik.
Let's go to Joe Montana.
How in the world did you mention Peyton Manning before you mentioned Joe Montana?
I was just looking up names, so. Let's go to Joe Montana. 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 8-time Pro Bowl, 3-time first team, second All-Pro, 2-time NFL Most Valuable Player, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Sports Illustrated Man of the Year, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, NFL Passing Rating Leader 2 times, NFL Passing Touchdown Leader 2 times, passing attempts 5,391, passing completions 3,409, percentage 63%, touchdowns 273, 39 interceptions, passing yards 40,551, and then passing rating is 92%. It's pretty damn good. Who wants to start with Joe Montana?
You go, Conrad.
Joe Montana is the Tom Brady of the era before him. I think Joe Montana is one of the greatest your stats say it all for him. I think Joe Montana should be on this list. He played on 2 different teams, won championships. Yeah, Joe Montana's on this list for me.
Yeah, I think Joe Montana's on this list as well. I mean, literally, you look at you look at the teams he played against. He played against some good ass teams in the '80s. Has some legendary moments, mainly 2 of the greatest game-winning drives of all time. The drive to win his first NCAA title against the Cowboys that ended with the catch. Then the drive in Super Bowl 23, I believe, to beat the Bengals. Once again, 2 legendary moments. Also, even though I think Tom Brady is the better quarterback, he doesn't have any real stains on his resume like Tom Brady does. I mean, and I'm not talking about off the field. At the end of the day, it's like Montana is 4-0 in the Super Bowl, and he never even threw a pick in the Super Bowl. I mean, that alone says a lot. I think Joe Montana is on his list.
All right. So we got 2 spots. All right, I'm gonna go to. There's a couple more quarterbacks I want to mention. Is there any quarterbacks you guys want me to look up? Anybody want me to look up or?
Honestly, other than Joe Montana and Tom Brady, I didn't really have any other quarterbacks in this list. At least not at the top of my head, anyway.
I mean,
by you, Conrad.
The only other person I think that we can mention, I'm trying to really wrap my head right now around. No,
I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks, but would they be on your top 10? You got Brett Favre,
I'm pushing it. I'm thinking
Unitas,
Johnny Unitas,
Troy Aikman. I mean, there's a lot of great quarterbacks.
No, but I'm talking when we say legendary, like I'm even thinking Dan Marino in the back of my head, but I don't even know if he can be mentioned compared to these other guys. I think Johnny Unitas is one though worth talking about at least.
I mean, if you ask me, people always call Johnny Unitas the originator of 2-minute drill. You know,
all right, here's some of Johnny Unitas stuff. Super Bowl champion, once 3-time NFL champion. So this is different. This is one before the NFL had Super Bowl. I know. So 10-time Pro Bowl, 5 first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, AP NFL Most Valuable Player, NFL Man of the Year, 4-time passing yards leader, 4-time passing touchdowns leader, passing attempts 5,186, passing completions 2,830, passing completion percentage 54%, touchdowns 290, interceptions 253, passing yards 4,239, and passing rating 78%.
I mean, obviously, as a native from Baltimore, we hold Johnny Unitas up to a huge standard. Even though obviously I wasn't around back then. But I think when you look at a lot of his performances and moments, he could at least maybe be on the list. I mean, hell, him and Raymond Berry's performance in the '68 championship game is stuff of legends. Go on one drive to send the game into overtime, and then in overtime you go on that legendary drive when he was calling his own stuff, and you get down to the goal line, and they saying, "All right, time, I just kick the field goal." No, we're not gonna do that. The second to last play, he throws a pass that got caught on the 1-yard line. The next play, they think, and then they punch it in. Like, I think Unitas, you look at a lot of like his moments and things like that. I think he should at least get a mention.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think that he should at least be considered if we're putting Peyton Manning on that list. You hear so many war stories. Johnny Unitas was even before my time. But I hear so many great stories about him, and if you could have seen this guy play, he was really good. I think he should at least be in the mentions.
What about another quarterback? I think at least deserves a mention, in my opinion, is Drew Brees. Drew Brees has got a lot of stuff under his belt that a lot of people don't talk about. So, I mean, I don't know if he'd be in the top 10, but I think he at least deserves a mention.
He's in my personal top 10 quarterbacks, but top 10 players, no. And the reason I think statistically, Drew Brees could make a case for best quarterback of all time. The problem is, I think accomplishments hold him back. He doesn't have an MVP award, and he only has 1 Super Bowl ring. And while that Super Bowl ring means a lot, especially considering what New Orleans had how it helped lift New Orleans up, I don't think Drew Brees is a top 10 player of all time.
I have another quarterback that I think we could possibly mention.
Who?
John Elway.
I said him earlier. I said John Elway.
I mean, but we didn't discuss him though.
Yeah, but I said it's somebody you want to mention.
Yeah. I'm putting him on there now that I'm thinking about him more.
Let's see, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 9-time Pro Bowl, first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro, NFL Most Valuable Player, 2-time AFC Offensive Player of the Year, NFL Man of the Year, NFL passing yards leader, 300 touchdowns in his career, 226 interceptions, 51,475 yards, passing yards, completion percentage 56%, passing rating 79%, rushing yards 3,000. This is rushing stuff. But John Elway. So you think John Elway should be in the mentions, or somebody you want to bring up?
I think he should at least be in the mentions because when you look at John Elway's career, John Elway was never on a team that had like some flashy offensive players that everybody knew, everybody had to have. Same thing with defense too. Like there was nobody on the other side of the ball that was like, oh, he can back him up and save him. I felt like John Elway kind of carried his teams.
I agree to a point, Conrad.
I know he had Shannon Sharp and stuff later on, but I'm talking about earlier.
Yeah, in his prime, he didn't really have any big name players. Now, toward his later years, I was like, he had Shannon Sharp, and don't forget Terrell Davis won Super Bowl MVP when they won that first Super Bowl. So I was like, don't discredit those two.
He was in his twilight though. At that I'm not even really talking about that. I'm talking about in his prime. He didn't have anybody really to help him.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, amazing.
Yeah, and then you got things like The Drive, which it's legendary stuff. But for me, I think he's mostly on the mention for now. Like, we can come back to him. I don't think he's a guaranteed spot.
I agree. I just thought that he should at least be in the mentions.
All right, that's cool. We can put him down for the mentions. So we got John Elway in the mentions. It's actually John Elway Jr. All right, I got him down for the mentions. No other quarterbacks you guys want to bring up? No other quarterbacks that you would think could be possibly?
Nah.
No, not for top 10.
No.
All right, let's move to running. That's cool. Let's move to running backs. We'll move to running backs then. Let's go to running backs. Let's start with Walter Payton.
Put him on.
I'm gonna read off some of his stuff. Super Bowl champion, 9-time Pro Bowl, 7 first team, second team All Pro, 2-time NFC Offensive Player of the Year, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, NFL Man of the Year, NFL rushing yards leader, NFL rushing touchdowns leader, 4-time NFL rushing attempts leader, rushing yards 16,726, rushing touchdowns 110, receptions 492, reception yards 4,538, receiving touchdowns 15. If you ask me, Walter Payton's on the list though for me. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I put Walter Payton on the list.
I think Walter Payton has to be on there. Sweetness is someone like when I go back and study stuff, he's one of the first people I went back to go watch his games and see what he did. And Walter Payton was one of the like first running backs I could think of that could rip it and go head to head with the linebacker, but then at the same point, he could also juke you, and he's way faster than you. He's going to take you out. He was the perfect combo running back that you could ever ask for.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about Walter Payton is that they didn't let him run a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And that was out of his control.
I mean, yeah, that's not really in his control. So, let's go to Jim Brown. Read some of his stuff. NFL champion, 9-time Pro Bowl, 8-time first team, 2nd-time All Pro, 3-time AFAP NFL Player of the Year, NFL Rookie of the Year, 8-time NFL rushing yards leader, 5-time NFL rushing touchdowns leader, rushing yards 12,312, rushing touchdowns 106, receptions 262, receiving yards 2,499, and receiving touchdowns 20.
I think Jim Brown's on the list. You look what he did on field and off field. I mean, and for a long time, really, he got Cleveland their last championship in tough 3 years ago. I think Jim Brown, you look at sports legends in a city in particular, there might not be a bigger Cleveland sports legend than Jim Brown. I think Jim Brown is on this list.
All right, what do you think?
Jim Brown is a hell of a football player. I don't care what he did off the field. Jim Brown is the man. Yeah, he's got to be on the list in my opinion too.
So you guys both have him on the list?
He's on my personal one.
Yeah, I think he's on the list.
All right. So Jim Brown, I got Jim Brown down. Let's go to Emmitt Smith, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 8-time Pro Bowl, 4-time first team, second team All Pro, AP NFL Most Valuable Player, NFL Most Valuable Player, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, NFL rushing yards leader 4 times, NFL rushing yards touchdown leader 4 times, NFL records, most receiving yards in any running back, more rushing yards than any running back, more rushing attempts than any running back, 18,355 rushing yards, rushing touchdowns 164, receptions 515, receiving yards 3,224, and rushing touchdowns 11.
Honestly, I think Emmitt Smith is on the list. I mean, and really, this comes down to this. Like you said, he's an all-time leading rusher of all time. And he's a 3-time champion, Super Bowl MVP. I mean, he was arguably, you could say it might have been Michael Irvin, say it was Troy Aikman, but he was a driving force behind what was the team in the 90s in that Dallas Cowboys dynasty. So I think, yes, Emmitt Smith is on this list.
Emmitt Smith, that's tough, man. For me, if this was like a top 25, Emmitt would make it. I don't know if he's got top 10 in him just yet. I would put him to the side as a maybe for right now. I mean, he's considered, but I'd have to see who else we can think of in other positions.
That's a good point. We do have a lot of positions to get through.
All right, I'll put it down for the maybes. Let's go to Barry Sanders. 10-time Pro Bowl, 6-time first team, 4-time second All Pro, NFL Most Valuable Player, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, NFL rushing yards leader 4 times, NFL rushing touchdowns leader, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, rushing yards 15,269, rushing touchdowns 99, rushing receptions 352, receiving yards 2,921, and receiving touchdowns 10.
Really, if you ask me, if we set Emmitt on the maybes, I don't even think Barry's gonna make this list anymore. I mean, even though it's not really his fault, considering the fact he didn't really have much around him, he never really won anything, and that does have to hold some weight. He doesn't have any championships. So I think if, like I said, we're not gonna have Barry, if we already don't necessarily know if we're gonna have Emmitt Smith on this list. Well, I don't think we're gonna have Barry Sanders on this list.
Conrad, what do you?
I'm thinking real hard about Barry for this list. I wish Barry Sanders played more. You know what I mean? I felt like he got out of the game too prematurely. As far as everything goes for right now, I am going to say Barry Sanders is going to be considered. I think he's close. I just don't know. He's like Emmitt. They were both in that same, like they're close to it, but I don't know if they make the list compared to everybody else.
So you want me to put Barry Sanders down for the maybe?
Yeah, put him down for another maybe.
Okay.
We got someone in the chat. Cody Johnson said we should have talked about Big Ben. I would have said no.
No.
And Bob Money says, "What's up?
What's up?" I mean, I don't have Big Ben in this list.
Sorry, Big Ben.
And it has nothing to do with being a Ravens fan because it is a Steeler later on I'm going to probably fight for. But, I don't think Big Ben is in this list. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback of all time, let alone a top 10 player.
I'm trying to think if he'd be in a top 100. I don't know.
Big Ben in the top 100?
Yeah, I don't know if he's a top 100 player. Out
Uh,
of all the greats, I don't think so.
My whole thing with Big Ben is, and once again, this is not even any bias because I'm a Ravens fan. He has 2 Super Bowls. He did lead. He has a lot of clutch moments, but really, after, and yes, he won one with Cowher and one with Tomlin, but both of those pretty much were Bill Cowher's team. Because even though they won Super Bowl 43 as Tomlin head coach, that was the same team Cowher built. Once it was Tomlin's team, he hasn't won anything. He only like I said, he's been to 3 Super Bowls, all 3 of Bill Cowher's team. Once Tomlin built his own team, they haven't been bad, and they've had a lot of talent around him to make another Super Bowl run. Antonio Brown, arguably the best receiver in the league. Le'Veon Bell, arguably the best running back. Literally, 2017 was the year they should have gone back to Super Bowl, but they got upset by Jacksonville. So I don't think Big Ben is the top 10 quarterback. Now, if he gets another Super Bowl, then and mind you, he doesn't have Super Bowl MVP. If he gets another Super Bowl and wins Super Bowl MVP, then maybe I'll have a discussion having a top 10 quarterback. But he's not a top 10 player of all time.
Any running backs you guys want to mention? Any other running backs?
I don't think. I mean, we got a lot of great running backs, but I don't have anyone else out there I'm even gonna say is in the top 10.
Conrad, you know anybody else either?
No, I mean, I'll mention their names, but I don't know if we really even need to get into it. I mean, you could talk about Marcus Allen, Marshall Faulk,
Franco Harris,
Jerome Bettis, Curtis Martin,
Terrell Davis.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other greats, Ricky Williams even, but I don't think any of these guys are in that top runner. I mean, we're talking about the creme de la creme of the NFL, so this is a kind of tough list.
Yeah, like I said before, if you ask me 2 running backs on the top of my head straight up who's the top 10, Walter Payton and Jim Brown. Like Emmitt Smith, I think could make it, but once again, we got to see who else we have. We have a lot more position to get through.
All right. I mean, yeah, Emmitt Smith is. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I would put him on the list, but we got to see who else we got so far. So, I'm just gonna start throwing out some other names that I think should be on the list. So I'm throwing out Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice on the list.
He's on the list.
Yes, he's on the list.
He's on the list. We don't have to talk about that. We know Jerry Rice is on the list. That's 5 players so far.
Jerry Rice got. Jerry Rice. You guys want me to read his stats or?
I mean, before we get his stats,
do
you can. But another thing before we even talk about his stats is his work ethic. I think like his work ethic might be the best work ethic of any NFL player in history. This is a guy who like he used to always run when he was young, ran over through like hills and mountains. I think his work ethic alone is pretty incredible. But you can go ahead and fire off his stats, Malik.
3-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP once, 13-time Pro Bowl, 10-time first team All Pro, NFL Most Valuable Player, 2nd-time All Team All Pro, 2-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year, 6-time NFL receiving yards leader, 2-time NFL receptions leader, 6-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader, NFL records, career receptions, career receiving yards, career receiving touchdowns, total touchdowns with 208, and career all-purpose yards, receptions 1,549, receiving yards 22,895, and receiving touchdowns 197.
Yeah, like I said, he's on the list. I'm not even going to debate anything. He's on the list.
Easily.
I'm not arguing with you on that one. I'm Jerry Rice on the list. Yeah, he's on the list.
Shout out to Rich Gannon, who won me a lot of money that year too.
You're never gonna shut up about that, are you?
Oh no, that made me feel so good. You don't know how many people hated me, and I was like, oh, I thought your boy Jerry Rice and Tim Brown were gonna do it. So
hey, Jerry Rice still caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. So
hey,
Rich Gannon threw like 5 picks and 2 pick sixes.
He was the MVP for the Bucs.
He really was.
I'm going to throw out some other names, some other receivers, since prime receivers. Randy Moss, 6-time Pro Bowl, 4-time first team All Pro, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, Pro Bowl MVP, 5-time NFL touchdown leader. Let's see, NFL records, 23 receiving touchdowns in a season, 17 receiving touchdowns in a rookie season. Receptions 982, receiving yards 15,292, and receiving touchdowns 156. Sorry.
If we were basing this list solely off talent, then Randy Moss would be on this list. But my problem with Randy Moss is the same problem I had with Terrell Owens, if we talk about him, and even Antonio Brown today. Off-field attitude cost him a career that could have been even better. I mean, Randy Moss has no Super Bowls. He's been in 2, lost both of them. Hell, he was part of arguably the greatest offense of all time in '98 with the Vikings, and they didn't win the NFC title game. Now, granted, that wasn't his. I'm not saying it was his fault, but that's just a fact. Also, like, he had arguably the best rookie year of all time, but I think off-field attitude cost him because, I mean, you got him being on the Patriots for only 3 seasons, was it? And they didn't keep him longer than they could have. And just attitude in general, like him, Terrell Owens, and Terrell Owens especially, those two, if they had better attitudes, they definitely they both could make cases for being a GOAT in terms of wide receiver. But I think like attitude and things like that, and the fact he didn't win a Super Bowl does hurt him in a little bit. I don't think Randy Moss is on this list.
That's tough. I assume you feel the same way about T.O. then?
Yeah, and I love both of them as players, but that off-field antics does hurt when you get bounced around to different teams and you don't win anything. It's my same problem with Antonio Brown today.
Yeah, well, we won't even get into Antonio Brown.
No.
He's just a mess in and of itself. There's only one other person I think that we could mention. Megatron. Calvin Johnson. I'm not saying he should be on this. I think he should be mentioned, though.
See, the Saints, we talk about wide receivers. I think Larry Fitzgerald should get a mention, too. But
yeah, I think if we were talking top 10, all these names that we're mentioning would be on top 10 wide receivers. But
yeah, but we're just going out players. And my thing with Megatron is the same thing with Jabari Sanders.
He didn't play long enough. Yeah, man. He didn't play long enough, man. I think it's more of the team Detroit, man. They're so bad at football. So it's like,
yeah, I remember I put up
if he could have played with a good, I mean, Matthew Stafford's not a bad quarterback, but if he could have had a real elite quarterback, man, Calvin Johnson was unstoppable, bro. I mean,
yeah, I remember I put up a meme on my Instagram a long time, like years ago. Now I think I deleted it. It said it had Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. It said the Lions killed more legends than Randy Orton. I mean,
come on, man.
Am I wrong? You got both of those players who retired, damn near still already in that prime at the top of that game, and they just retired. They both deserve better than Detroit gave them. And I don't think, and that's the problem. Megatron retired way too early to say he's a top 10 player. Now, top 10 receiver, maybe, but top 10 player, no.
I think, what about Larry Fitzgerald, though, man? Larry Fitzgerald's a hell of a receiver.
I love Larry Fitzgerald to death. He's always been one of my favorite receivers. And his 2008 playoff run, maybe, like I said, one of the best playoff runs by individual players, let alone a receiver. And I mean, you look at like his performance against the Eagles in that NFC title game, his performance against the Panthers the week before. I mean, in the second half, that performance in the Super Bowl, nearly running the game winning touchdown, but left the Steelers too much time. You look at 2015 also. You know, that might have been his last real chance to win the Super Bowl. And he had that legendary game against the Packers in the divisional round. But I think that if Larry had got a Super Bowl, then we might be arguing he might be in this list. But not having that Super Bowl does hurt him. Hell, I'll make a straight argument that if they had beaten the Steelers in the Super Bowl, he would have won Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, yeah.
And if he had that Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP to top that year, I would put him in this list because that's already the best like postseason run by a receiver, and he kept it off with a ring and an MVP in the Super Bowl. Yeah, he'd have been there, but not having that Super Bowl really does hurt him. And I love Larry Fitzgerald maybe more than any receiver in history, but no, he's not on the list.
Yeah, Larry's the man for what was he, the youngest player to catch 1,000?
I think so.
Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald was the man. I love his attitude. I love how he treats people. I just don't think he has enough of the accolades, though, that really matter to make you stand out to be a top 10 NFL player of all time. As much as I like Larry Fitzgerald.
I was heartbroken when they lost that Super Bowl. I rooted hard for them to win that year because they had Larry Fitzgerald, but then they lost. So I was like, oh man.
Well, see, I'm a Raven fan, so obviously I rooted hard for him.
Okay, so and no other receivers? No other receivers?
No.
Alright, so we're off receivers. Let's see. You want to go to another guy I'm gonna throw out there. He's on the list. We're just gonna go to his name. Lawrence Taylor, LT.
Oh yes. Yeah, he's on the list. Arguably the best defensive player of all time. He's on the list.
And he fought Van Bigelow at WrestleMania 11. I mean, geez.
Yeah, you throw that WrestleMania main eventer too. Yeah, throw that on there. He's the only defensive player to win league MVP, if not the only, but the last person to do it. Yeah, I don't think we need to debate LT. He's on this list.
He had a lot of sacks.
Okay, I'm gonna read off some of his accolades. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 10-time Pro Bowl, like WrestleMania main eventer, like you said earlier. That's not on here, but I just threw it out there. 8-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro, NFL most valuable player, NFL Defensive Player of the Year 3 times, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, NFL sacks leader, tackles 1,089, and sacks 132.5, interceptions 9. That's pretty much it right there.
The man was 6'3", 250 pounds of just beast. Like, I can't believe that he was that fast and that powerful. I don't think we'll ever see another Lawrence Taylor again in the NFL. Like, that dude is
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, people always talk about players they wish they could have saw, and I swear on everything, I wish I could have saw Lawrence Taylor. Like, I really wish I could see him play like Ernest Brown. I wish I could have seen that. But I don't think we need to debate. Lawrence Taylor is definitely on this list.
Lawrence Taylor was a beast. One player I wish I could have seen play too. Wasn't around then. Let's throw another defensive player. Let's start Ray Lewis, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 3-time Pro Bowl, 7-time first team All Pro, 3-time second team All Pro, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time first team All American, tackles 2,061, quarterback sacks 41.5, pass deflection 67, interceptions 31, forced fumble 17, forced fumble recoveries 20, and defensive touchdowns 3. I ain't gonna lie, man. I was never a Ravens fan, but Ray Lewis was always one of my favorite players, man. I love Ray Lewis when he was playing.
Well, you see, as a Raven fan,
I know you're a Ravens fan, so go ahead. Go ahead,
Kyrie. This is your show now. Go ahead, enjoy it.
Okay, a Raven fan. I live in Baltimore, especially in this millennium. There is no bigger sports icon in that city than Ray Lewis. And personally, who I think he's on my list. But then I'm a Ravens fan, so I have to have him on the list. I mean, he was arguably the leader and the best on a defense that was best. You can give any other defense you want, but the 2000 Ravens are arguably one of the best defenses of all time. He was the master. Hell, he won Super Bowl MVP in that Super Bowl, and really he should have caught about 6 in the game too, but he dropped. But when you look at stats, what he did for a team that was pretty much brand. Remember, the Ravens have only been in the NFL for what, 4 years, and him helping like lead that team, and then becoming winning another championship and being leading the Ravens again in 2012. Been on countless of great defenses. You could argue him and Ed Reed one of the best defensive duos of all time. I want him on the list, but I think once again this is a maybe because of everyone else we need to. I think he should be on the list though.
Kyrie, what do you think?
I think that Ray Lewis is one of the greatest players to play in Baltimore. I think that if this was a larger list, we would definitely say yes to him being on it. But due to it being top 10, I think he would have to go in considerations or a respectable no. Tough to say for him, though. He would not be in my top 10 personally, though.
All right, putting down for the maybes.
That's gonna be fun later.
Me personally. Let's see. Let's. What about Deion Sanders? You thought Deion Sanders out there?
You can go first time, right?
Well, ever since I signed the dotted line back in 1989, must be the money. That video is one of the worst rap songs ever. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, please look it up. Deion Sanders is going to be so close for this, man. He was a great player. I don't know how you guys felt about him offensively. I definitely thought his defense was better, but Deion Sanders was someone who could play any position, anytime, special teams, offense, defense. And I will say this, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and one of my most embarrassing moments as a Buffalo Bills fan is when Deion Sanders went in a time machine on us when he caught an interception and ran it back. Oh my Lord, I will never, ever forget that or live that down. Just how bad that was. But I think Deion Sanders is close. He is someone who I'm going to put on the considered.
Yeah, I think Deion Sanders pretty close too. I mean, arguably like athlete, he might be the best athlete in NFL history. The amount like man can play different sports and everything. Speaking of athletes, another player we didn't bring up for running backs is Bo Jackson, but once again, that was just a mention. But Deion does break the trend when I say like people who are like divas off the field barely win. He did win 2 Super Bowls with 2 great teams. And I mean, hell, he even played on the Ravens for a season in 2004. But I think Deion at the most is a mention, and I think he's the greatest cornerback that ever played the game. But at the most, I think he deserves a mention. Like, we got to see who else we got.
I think he is also known for stuff besides football. I think he was a great entertainer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could put a microphone in front of him, and you could just let him talk. And he would either make you love him or make you want to see his team get beat so bad because he would just start running off at the mouth. Prime time was exactly the perfect name for him. It was fitting for who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. These are some of his stats: interceptions 53, defensive touchdowns 10, return touchdowns 9, receptions 60, receiving yards 784, and receiving touchdowns 3. So he did play both sides of the field. But you guys said he should be in the mentions, so put it down for the maybes. All right, so we'll put him down for the maybes. Is there any names you guys want to throw out there? Other names. Anybody you want to throw out there?
I think it's my obligations. I think it's 2 people I got to bring up. One is a Raven, one's a Steeler. Ed Reed, I think is the greatest safety of all time. Like, you look at the stats, the man has number 1 in interception return yards. Like, he was really a type of person. When he caught a pick, you were almost scared. Or even picked up a fumble, you were scared he would bring it back. He was because of return ability. He's one of the only players to score like in multiple different ways. He's blocked a punt. He's returned a field. Blocked the punt return. He's pick 6 obviously, and also he's returned fumble for touchdowns. And he set the record for the longest interception return for a touchdown in history. Then broke that record. Broke it himself. I think Ed Reed deserves a mention. And another player I'm gonna bring up is I think Mean Joe Green should be on this list. I mean. The Steel Curtain Steelers are you can argue the best dynasty of all time, and argue the best defense of all time. And he was the leader of that defense. I think Mean Joe Green deserves a mention as well.
Okay, here's some of Ed Reed's stuff. 643 tackles, sack 6.0, pass defended 139, interception 64, interception returning yards 1,590, forced fumbles 11. Forced fumble recoveries 13, and defensive touchdowns 9. Kai, what do you think?
Ed Reed. I think Ed Reed is a no for top 10. If we had like I said, another wider margin, I think we would be talking about him at least. But with what we have here, I don't think he's a top 10 NFL player. That's what makes this list very difficult.
I mean, I know it's not from a Ravens fan, but I also think he's the greatest safety of all time.
Then you said Joe Green, 4-time Super Bowl champion, 10-time All-Pro, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, NFL Man of the Year, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Doesn't have the other stuff on here, which I don't see. But Conrad, what do you think about Joe Green?
I'm gonna say the same thing again. No.
See, but his thing, well, Mean Joe Green, like you said, Ray Lewis being on the babies. Mean Joe Green did change the NFL in terms of like you look at like no one could block him, and like I said, the Steel Curtain Steelers defense is legendary, and he was the best player on that defense. Hell, best player on that team. He was the one that helped turn the Steelers around. Remember, the Steelers were in the 60s, were pretty 50s and 60s, were pretty much the Cleveland Browns in the NFL. They draft Mean Joe Green. I think they draft Terry Bradshaw. Yeah, they got other players like Lynn Swan and things like that. But Mean Joe Green was the one that turned the Steelers around into that dynasty. I think he should be on the list. And it's coming from a Ravens fan.
I'm just trying to think here. I just don't see. I think there's enough people above him that we could talk about that would go above Joe Green. I think Joe Green would be in my top 15, but I don't think he's top 10.
Okay, so since you mentioned Joe Green, what about Warren Sapp then?
If we don't have Ray Lewis or Mean Joe Green on the list yet, Warren Sapp isn't going to make it.
No. I don't think Warren Sapp's top 100. I like Warren Sapp too, so.
Yeah, I know. He's another reason why you got that money in that Super Bowl.
Shout out to my man Rich Gannon. That joke will never get old.
You won't let it die.
I can't. It won me so much money. I was balling that year. Oh. Are you just throwing out any name though against?
Yeah, just throw out some names. What we want to throw out?
I would like to talk about Reggie White.
Okay, good.
I think that Reggie White is someone who is remarkable. He played for the Eagles, Packers, and Panthers for a long span. And a lot of people forget this. Like, once you pull up his stats and you start reading them off, remember this. He played in the USFL, and he had a total career sack there of 198. Think about if he was in the NFL instead. How many more he would have.
See, here's about Reggie White. And once again, I'm disappointed I didn't get to see him play. I mean, I remember just like maybe 2 or 3 days ago, I was watching just random highlights, and I watched his performance in that Super Bowl against the Patriots. He kicked the Patriots. I don't remember the guy's name, but he kicked his ass. He literally was throwing him out of the way and just getting to Drew Bledsoe so easily. But once again, I don't think we're gonna have him on this list.
Oh, I think he's got to be on this list. I feel like he's lower tier, but I think you have to put Reggie White on this list.
I think right now he should be on the maybes, and we'll get back to him. But I don't know if he's definitely on the list yet.
Reggie White, let's see, Super Bowl champion, 3-time Pro Bowl, 10-time first team All-Pro, 3-time second team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time NFC Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time NFL sacks leader. Sacks 198, forced fumbles 33, interceptions 3, touchdowns 2. So you said he should be on the list, Conrad? You want him on the list?
I think he's a top 10. The man had Campbell's chunky chicken noodle soup commercials popping.
Oh God,
he was popular, man. I'm just saying at that time though, he was the man at one point. Like you weren't messing around with him.
I don't know, Kyron. How do you feel about Reggie White?
I think right now we gotta at least put him on the maybes. I'm not sure yet. Once again, this comes down to the fact I didn't really get to watch him play, and I haven't seen a lot of his highlights. I think he's on the maybes for now.
All right, so I'll put him down for the maybes. And is there any names you want to throw out there? Anybody else?
Honestly, I don't really know if there's anyone off the top of my head that we haven't brought up that haven't said already.
I mean, there's the only other people that you could probably bring up will be some classic old school people. Dick Butkus.
Kelly.
I don't know. Like the man revolutionized his position. If you think about it, using intimidation. I don't know. Nobody just saw those types of tackles when people were playing back then. I don't know. I think he's someone we could at least talk about and look at his stats and say, do you think he's at least top 10 worthy? People talk about him all the time.
Who was he?
Dick Butkus played for the Bears from when did he stop in 73? I think he played from like 65,
73.
Yeah.
8-time Pro Bowl, 6-time All-Pro, 2-time second team All-Pro, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, NFL 75th anniversary all-time team, NFL 60s all-decade team, NFL 1970s all-decade team, 2-time consistent All-American, UPI lineman of the year, 22 interceptions and 27 fumble recoveries. I don't think he's gonna make the list though.
You know what? He may be knocked out by Ray Lewis at this point, but back in the day, I would say he was a top 10 player a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Ray Lewis, now that his career is over, he may have overshadowed him. But I just thought he deserved to at least be mentioned.
All right, Dicker Butkus.
Do you guys have any like linemen? Do you think that? Here's my problem. I feel like lineman is the most like crapped on position in football because nobody ever thinks about the dude who protected the quarterback who looks great. They got to make the play.
That's how it is. People don't really care about football. Like, hell, this come from a rugby player. I know how it's like to be a forward, and you do the dirty work, but everyone else, backs get the glory of it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any linemen I can think of off the top of my head? No, and that's mainly because lineman just isn't a celebrated position. Like defensive lineman is one thing, but offensive lineman, there's no one celebrated enough to say, "Oh yeah, he's
off the top of my head. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, we got 4 spots left, and we got a couple mentions, so we can just go to the mentions again and just decide from there.
All right, who do we have left?
We got Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, John Elway, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Ray Lewis, Deion Sanders, and Reggie White.
Well, of those players, like to me, I think the players that should take those spots are obviously I think Ray Lewis. I think me and Joe. Wait, did you bring up Joe Green or we didn't put him on the maybes?
The comment said he didn't think.
Okay, I think Ray Lewis, Emmitt Smith, Johnny Unitas.
I think. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Going through this list real quick. I think Emmitt Smith definitely has to be on the list.
I think so too.
Emmitt Smith.
He's definitely got to be on the list because I mean he holds all the records pretty much for his position.
So name everybody that we had on there one last time.
Well, on the list right now we got Tom Brady, we got Joe Montana, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, and Lawrence Taylor.
Okay.
And then we have 4 spots left. We have Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, John Elway, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Ray Lewis, Deion Sanders, and Reggie White. So we can go back to Peyton Manning again. Let's talk about Peyton Manning. Would Peyton Manning make your list top 10 all time?
No.
Great quarterback, lovable guy, but
yeah. Johnny Unitas?
I think Johnny Unitas is.
I think Johnny Unitas is on the list.
You guys have him on the list?
Yes.
I have him on mine.
All right. Well, that leaves. I'm going to get my choice put on the list now.
Don't worry. I think it's about to get heated here in a couple more picks.
So that only leaves 3 more spots. So we got John Elway.
Mm-hmm. I don't think John Elway is going to make this list.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, with Johnny Unitas going on, John Elway's not on the list.
Yeah, I don't see us putting 4 quarterbacks on this list.
I can live with John Elway getting the boot. I just thought he should be mentioned, and then when you looked at those stats, it was kind of maybe it's over glorified a little bit, but.
All right, so here's how we're gonna do this. If you get outvoted, then that person gonna be on the list because I wouldn't have Johnny Unitas on my list.
Chill, hold on. We need to at least fight for the case now.
No, that's how it is. I mean, I wouldn't have Johnny Unitas on my list, but I'm gonna get outvoted, so I had to put him on the list.
Okay.
So let's see. Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith would make my list. I would have him on the list.
I got him on the list. I mean, like I said, like
Here
you
we
said,
go.
he's the all-time leading rusher, Conrad. He has 3 rings in Super Bowl MVP. Come on now, he might.
Maybe I'm biased, but
hey, I don't like the Cowboys.
I feel like if Barry Sanders played longer, he would have all the records, but he just didn't play longer. So
that's my problem. I'm holding out for Barry Sanders over Emmitt Smith. I think Barry was a better running back to the league.
I do too.
But I think Barry might have been. I think
he just played for a worse team. I mean, he played for the Lions and he played for the Cowboys. So
one played for one of the weakest teams in the league. The other one played for the best team in the '90s. But like I said, he was in ways he was a driving force of that offense. And so I think Emmitt's on the list, honestly. And this comes from.
you got to look at the team that they had. They had Troy Aikman, they had Michael Irvin, but Emmitt Smith was a big part of that team too.
Yeah, and like I said, between those three, you could argue that Emmitt was the real driving force of that offense.
Yeah, I think he's got been just because of the records that he has and the rings too. He got the rings to back it up. I think he has been on the list. Like I said, Barry Sanders is. Unfortunately for him, he played for the shitty team and he just didn't play long enough. If he'd played for the Cowboys, they could have won 5 rings with him. So, but it's just he played for the Lions and he only played 10 years in the league. So, I mean, I think he would have broke all the records if he'd played longer. He was definitely a better running back, but he just didn't play long enough.
Who the hell is trying to play longer on that team?
I don't know.
Good.
Same with Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson playing. I'm out of here, bro.
I remember when I was watching the NFL Top 10. I don't remember what it was, and they brought up how Barry Sanders was like number 1 in negative yards. And he said you would too when you look at the offensive line he had quarterbacks. And someone said one line, it made me laugh, but it really made me feel sorry for him at the same time. They said if Barry Sanders was a child, then Child Care Protective Service would have took him away from the Lions.
That's a fact. It was just bad, dude. Like if you ever go back and just watch it, it'll make you cry.
All right, so if Emmitt Smith's on the list, Barry Sanders won't make the list. So it's got to be one of the two.
I've accepted the L.
So Emmitt Smith's on the list. I mean, I do think he's not the better running back, but unfortunately, with stats and everything else, the man was a beast for real. He wasn't no joke. So got to mark off Barry Sanders. Let's see. Ray Lewis.
Obviously, you know what I think. I think he's on the list.
So we got Ray Lewis. There's 2 spots left. And we got Ray Lewis, Deion Sanders, and Reggie White. Those are the last 3.
Oh damn!
Here's why I look at Ray over like at least.
Me personally, I would put Ray Lewis on the list. I think he should be on the list.
I mean, the man was a Super Bowl MVP. He was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I think you look at his accomplishments and stats, and like I said, and hell, you look at even that last playoff run he had. He was leading the Ravens in tackles a lot of times. I think in the Colts game he had like a bunch of tackles. I mean, in the Super Bowl he had like 16 tackles. I think Ray Lewis is on the list, and it's not just because I'm a Raven fan. I also think he should be in his list.
I can concur with that. Yeah, I think once we look back at what he's done compared to like the Dick Butkus, yeah, I just felt like sometimes we forget about some of the old school players. I know we mentioned Jim Brown and some of the other guys.
I mean, you gotta think. I mean, besides Lawrence Taylor, Ray Lewis is probably he could be arguably the second best defensive player of all time, but behind Lawrence Taylor. Definitely top 5.
You could probably argue that he's number 1.
I mean, obviously, I'm a Ravens fan, so obviously, I always say Ray Lewis the best linebacker. If I put him beside Bias, I would say it's Lawrence Taylor. But I think Ray Lewis is on this list.
Yeah.
I would have him on. I mean, Ray Lewis is somebody that I if I was playing football, I want him on my team. You know what I'm saying?
You look how he used to smack people, man.
And he's a leader. He's a great leader too. Like you think
absolutely.
So.
He was a general.
All right, so that leaves Deion Sanders and Reggie White. We got 1 spot left. So Conrad said he wanted Reggie White.
You already know I'm going Reggie.
So who are you with for that one?
I'm gonna let you pick, Malik. I'm gonna let you pick.
Woo.
Y'all ain't
Okay,
about to do
Conrad,
me dirty. Come on now.
Conrad, you gotta give me some stuff about Reggie White because I haven't seen too much stuff on him. So
Campbell's soup is all I gotta say, bro. That's all you need to see. Reggie White was the man, dude.
I don't even like soup, man.
Huh?
I don't eat soup like that on occasions.
You don't cook.
You'll need him when you're sick, though. Reggie White was good, though, man, for his stats and everything that he ever did. Hold on, let me pull up some stats.
But you think he's better? You think he's more deserving than Deion Sanders?
Well, since I'm gonna be deciding vote, let me just say what I think. Deion may have more Super Bowls, but like I said, he did have a little bit of off-field ego problem that did hold him back a little bit. And let's be honest, he jumped on two teams that won Super Bowls, not necessarily because they needed him per se. They only needed him for one reason. For example, he went to the 49ers because they needed someone to guard Michael Irvin. And the very next year, he went to the Cowboys because they needed someone to guard Jerry Rice. He wasn't really like set on one team. And I'm not saying you have to be loyal to a team. But and don't get me wrong, I love Deion Sanders like more. But between the two, I'm gonna go Reggie White.
I'm sticking with Reggie White, man.
I'm
198 sacks, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Reggie White. And then
and like I said, don't forget that USFL thing that I said.
I didn't even know about that.
Dude, imagine if he had more sacks. And he even had, I'm looking up right now, he had a forced fumble and a touchdown too, included when he played in the USFL for Memphis.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't know. Yeah, I'll go Reggie White in that last one.
Listen, if it were up to me, Deion Sanders is number 11. I'm not trying to poke holes in the man.
Yeah, me neither. I love Deion. I like Deion Sanders more.
That's Deion Sanders though, bro.
I like Deion Sanders more, but I think Reggie White. Like I agree with Conrad. I'm going Reggie White in this one.
Prime time though. I mean, yeah, that's cool. Reggie White, he'd be on the list. We put him on the list. All right. All right, that is the list right there. It is completed. Didn't take us that long. Let's see. We got Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Johnny Unitas, Emmitt Smith, Ray Lewis, and Reggie White.
That's a pretty good list. It's pretty balanced offense and defense. One thing I found funny, we didn't bring up any tight ends. Because I'm not going to have any tight ends on the list, but I feel like people like Tony Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp and Gronkowski deserve mentions, but they weren't going to make the list.
Yeah, I wouldn't have him on the list. We didn't mention Steve Young either for quarterbacks. I forgot about Steve Young. I wouldn't have him on the list, but
I wouldn't either.
I feel like Steve Young's another. Who did we boot off the list at the end? John Elway.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's in that kind of category. Like really good, really solid. I just don't think he's top 10 all-time players.
No, top 10 quarterback. Yes, but like that's the problem. Like this list is not focused on one position. That's what makes it a little bit harder. Like everyone we booted off the maybes list. If we had done individual positions, they damn sure would have made the list. Hell, running back wise, I'd have had Barry Sanders right at number 4. And Deion Sanders is the greatest cornerback of all time. Quarterback wise, every quarterback we named would have made the list, but we're going by like individual, like everyone all together, which makes this list much harder.
I'm alright the list. There's some I like the list. I'm cool with it. We only have, let's see, we got 2 quarterbacks. No, we got 3 quarterbacks. We got 1 receiver. We got 3 running backs. And everybody else is on defense. On the defensive side, 3 defensive players. So I'm cool with the list. I feel like you said you have Deion Sanders at 11. At number 11.
I'm just saying that Deion Sanders would definitely be within those next couple picks. I would have him on there.
Yeah, I think he really, if not 11, 12, he's definitely close. But
do you guys wouldn't have Peyton Manning in your top 15?
Maybe top 15. Even then, Peyton Manning is, like I said, Peyton Manning is pushing, like he wasn't going to be a top 10. He's pushing top 15, honestly. I don't know.
25, I think.
I don't know if I put him in the top 15, honestly.
No.
'Cause I honestly,
I think he's got an argument. I think he's got an argument for top 15 at least. I mean, top 10, I can see that, but top 15, man, Peyton Manning was the shit.
I think Peyton Manning is the best regular season quarterback of all time. But when you throw postseason into it, that's what like hurts Peyton Manning, if you ask me.
That's so backhanded compliment I've ever heard. Well, you're the best regular season quarterback. But that's a true argument, though. We were just talking about that before. He just doesn't have the. He doesn't have the numbers in the big games.
There's some players that are like that, you know. He has the good regular season, but when the playoffs come, it's just something I don't know. It's just something different.
So did Jim Kelly, Dan Marino. We could go all day with quarterbacks who are great in the regular season.
Like that too for a little bit.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, like he has 2 Super Bowls, and he is the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams as a starting quarterback. Yes, but don't forget, like I said before, he won that first Super Bowl with the Colts when the starting quarterback on another team with the Bears was freaking Rex Grossman. Literally, if the Bears had Jay Cutler for crying out loud, they'd have won that game because they really had that great defense and everything. The Bears were but granted, they won the game.
Talking about that money too, Peyton Manning cost me the most money I ever lost too in the Super Bowl where he fumbled the very first play where the center snapped it over him. Oh.
I can't believe people in their right mind thought the Broncos were going to win that game. I had the Seahawks winning that one. I didn't think they were going to kick. I didn't think they were going to destroy them, but I said they were going to win that game.
That night and that season was when I realized about the Peyton Manning Tom Brady argument. I used to be the dude who would try and say, "Man, I think Peyton Manning's better than Tom Brady." But once that happened, that was I was training somebody. I'll never forget. And we were sitting there, and it's like the end of the night. It's dying, and there's a bar kind of over to the left, and we're looking at it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, "Yeah, you always got to be focused on what you're doing." And then all of a sudden, I went, "Oh." And then he was like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I think I just lost a whole bunch of money." He was like, "What?" I was like, "I think I just lost a whole bunch of money because I really had hope that Peyton Manning was going to pull it out, and he couldn't."
And then the funny thing is, Tom Brady pulled it out that next year against that same defense. That was literally but here's like I said, but like all 4 Peyton Manning, he's been in the Super Bowl 4 times. 1, 2, lost 2. Like I brought up his win. He lost the Saints when he threw that back-breaking pick 6 that iced the game. Then he got literally obliterated by the Seahawks, and then like his second Super Bowl, the win they did when they won the Panthers. Like I said, the defense carried him, but also don't forget Peyton got benched in that season at one point, and he only came back because Brock Osweiler was so bad, and he had an okay playoff run, but he wasn't good in the Super Bowl at all. I mean, people get Cam Newton that bad record playing bad in the game. He played better than Peyton Manning did.
They were a team comprised of a good defense, but he was at least a quarterback he's not going to lose you the game. He wasn't going to lose them that game.
So who would you rather take, Peyton Manning or Brett Favre?
Peyton Manning.
I prefer Peyton over Brett, personally.
Peyton.
I think I would too.
But
they're kind of similar with the postseason.
But once again, Peyton's here. I put Brett right here. Like I could interchange those two easily.
I would take Peyton over Brett. He has more MVPs. He has more rings. And even though I criticize them both for throwing back-breaking picks, the only time Peyton threw one, I think, was a bad pass against the Ravens. Brett threw a bunch. And how in 3 straight playoff losses, he threw those bad picks. The Eagles, the Giants, and then the Saints.
Yeah, I think I would take Peyton too. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks you mentioned. Drew Brees is a slept quarterback though, man. I don't think he gives enough credit.
He's not done yet either.
Yeah, but you got to think like when you ever hear people talk about the best quarterbacks like ever, like top 10, they never talk about him though, bro. It's like, bro, he's definitely.
I think because he's gonna live in the shadow of Tom Brady. As much as that's gonna sound horrible, Aaron Rodgers is probably gonna be another one too. That they will be in the shadow of Tom Brady for what they've done.
With Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, and this comes from a huge fan of both of them, I'm glad they got their Super Bowls when they did. Especially in Aaron Rodgers' case, because the way the Packers are, I don't think they're ever getting back. So I'm glad he got his Super Bowl, and now Drew Brees, like, literally last year, you can argue last season was their last chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm not
going to look this year. They would not have lost to the Patriots, I don't think. They had a much better defense than the Rams. I think they would won that game. But last year might have been their last chance. You can talk about the pass interference call all you want, but the Saints still made a lot of mistakes that cost them that game.
I mean, they definitely got a chance. I mean, they still pretty much the same team. They don't got Mark Ingram anymore, but
Yeah,
I think they still got a chance. They still got a chance to make some noise if they. I mean, this is how they play. I mean, Drew Brees had a very good, like in the beginning of the season, he had a very good beginning of the season, but then he kind of fell off towards the end of the season. So
here's the one thing: if Patrick Mahomes didn't wow us so much, Drew Brees would have won MVP last year.
yeah, definitely. I thought he was gonna be an MVP for sure. But
I wanted him to get it because Patrick, like I said, Patrick Mahomes is young and he'll have more years. Drew Brees might never get another opportunity like that.
Yeah, I don't want that to ever come into the voting though. You know what I mean?
Right,
yeah,
right.
like sympathy award or vote.
I definitely thought Drew Brees was gonna get it in the first half of the season. I was like, he's gonna get it, but then Patrick Mahomes just started. He started doing crazy stuff.
I had the Saints win in the Super Bowl. Like if you asked me to place money in the beginning of the season on who I thought was going to win, I would have picked the Saints.
Really, all four of the last 4 teams I think had a legitimate shot to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, like I didn't mind the NFC title game that much. Like whoever won between the Saints and the Rams, but like I said, whoever won the NFC title game, I was picking to win the Super Bowl. And I think the Saints would have probably won if they made it, but they didn't make it. And like I said, people always want to say they got robbed, and I agree that was pass interference. But the Saints made a lot of mistakes, and there were some calls on them that they didn't call either. That's my whole thing.
As a wise coach once told me, you shouldn't have been in that position.
I mean, you up 13-0 at one point. Literally, that fake punt the Rams ran and turned around the game because the Saints fans were loud as hell. They were up 13-0.
I'm telling you right now, I got 2 friends who I grew up with. They're from New Orleans, bro. They don't want to hear none of that. They don't want to hear none of that. Made mistakes. They straight, but like no, they're from New Orleans, so of course they gotta defend their team no matter what. So they're like, man, we should have been in the Super Bowl. They screwed us. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, they made that.
I felt bad for the Saints, I kind of felt bad for them a little bit though, but they did make a lot of mistakes though. So it's like, you know, if they'd have won that game, we wouldn't even be talking about that pass interference call. Like,
exactly.
Oh, that didn't matter.
Hell, if they had ran the ball on the play before and made the Rams burn the timeout, they wouldn't have been in that position.
I mean, I definitely think losing Mark Ingram definitely hurts him because Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara in the backfield, they were too dynamic right there. So, but now without Mark Ingram, it's going to be all Alvin Kamara now. So,
see, I don't care.
The Saints will be fine.
I have Mark Ingram, so it doesn't matter to me.
I think the Saints will be fine though. I think they'll be fine. I don't know if they're gonna make the Super Bowl. Cause I think like Kyron did last year was probably their last chance. But who knows? I mean, who knows? Like in their division, it's somebody different goes to the Super Bowl every year. So I mean, it's not like you know the other.
My division, yeah, we know.
Yeah, it's not like the Patriots or the Steelers. I mean, if you look at from 2001 all the way up to now, between there were always Big Ben, Peyton Manning, or Tom Brady always in the Super Bowl every year, and then the other teams were always somebody different. You know what I mean, somebody just randomly different that you would just never expect. So,
I mean, but
it can be somebody. There will be teams that will be good in the NFL last year. They will be bad this year, and then there will be teams that are good. They will be bad next year. They're going to be good this year. I think the Jaguars are going to be better this year than they were last year because they got a better quarterback now.
Well, and they don't have as many injuries. The Jaguars, like the Jaguars, were plagued by injuries last year.
Yeah, like the Jaguars went to AC title game against the Patriots and barely lost. Then I said they would be back in AC title game next year. And I remember they beat the Patriots in week 3. I'm like, okay, the Jaguars for real this year. Then they fell off. But yeah, that's how I look at it. That's what I think though. Like, I think the NFC South in general, like you look at the NFC South lately, like I think the only division in the NFL today where in this like millennium, every team made the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers made it in 2002. The Panthers made it in 2003 and 2015. The Falcons made it in 2016, and the Saints made it in 2009. So they're the only division where every team's made the Super Bowl, and granted, only 2 of them won it. But still,
yeah, that's the difference between that's the difference between basketball and football. There are teams that can be bad. I mean, basically basketball, we know what the good team is going to be every year. We just know, like, all right, this team's going to be good.
Yeah, we already know who's going to win.
Football is just like in football, you never know. I mean, like, look at the Colts. Like, the Colts did bad the first half, but then they started picking up like toward the end of the season. So it's like, oh, now they're playing good. So it's like, with football, you kind of never really know. And injuries, like Conrad said, injuries have the effect too. Like Jaguars had a lot of injuries last year. So now that they got a real quarterback and Nick Foles, they can make some noise over there as long as they stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nick Foles way better than Blake Bortles. So
Yeah, you never know what wild stuff could happen. The Bills had a couple people retire in the middle of the season. Like, what is this?
Dude, who was that dude that retired at halftime, dude? That played for y'all. That one guy that he's like, I'm done.
Vontae Davis.
Yeah, Vontae Davis. And then he had a commercial about it afterwards. Scumbag. Richie Incognito, though. I don't know if you guys know this, but Richie Incognito had an incident with somebody. He said some wild stuff, and then all of a sudden he had to retire. He was like, "Yeah, I'm retiring," because he wanted to keep the money. Probably, like he was out too. So it gets wild sometimes.
Dude, I couldn't believe that. First off, I didn't even know you could retire during the game. Like I seen something about that. I was like, "What? That's not true." And then I was like, "He retired in the game, like right in the middle of a game. Like what kind of shit is this?"
Only the Bills. Only the Bills.
In the middle of the game, though, like right in the middle. It's like he was on the field. He's like, "All right, you know what? I think it's time to hang it up."
And you know what? That's the second time that happened too. That happened, I think, 2 or 3 years prior to that too.
That has to be. They had to make a rule for that. You can't retire in the middle of the game, dude. That's ridiculous. I mean, you were right in the middle of a game. At least finish the game. Like, come on, man, just finish the game. Then you can be like, all right, you know what? I can't do this no more. But like, come on, man, in the middle of the game. Like, you know how sorry that would be if imagine if that was a star player that you paid to go see it, and like they come back at halftime like, so and so has retired, and he went. What? Pay all his money to go see this guy? And they get my fucking money back, dude. Are you kidding me? This is crazy, dude. I couldn't believe that shit. I read that shit. I thought it was fake. Like I thought it was something like somebody made up some stuff, and then I went on ESPN. And they were like, "Yeah, Vontae Davis is retired at halftime." I was like, "He can't retire in the middle of the game, dude. Like, what is this?"
Sad.
That's crazy, dude. I would never see. That's the type of people you don't want on your team, right there. Those type of players. That's like the worst, man.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
I don't think you ever wanted to do those anyway.
But I feel like he'd be one of those people to like come back and be on a better team than like retire, and then next year he's on a better team. You know what I mean? Like, oh, now he's signed with
You know what though? I think he tried to sign with another team or someone showed interest, but the Bills blocked it.
Oh, so he's still okay. So okay.
Yeah, they were like, "No, you quit, man. Remember?"
Right? Yeah, you watch out, man. Want to finish the season or no? All right, we're gonna go ahead and end this. We can talk more football offline, but we'll hit it up for the viewers. I'm gonna let you guys introduce your channels and throw some stuff out there that you guys got coming up. We'll start with Conrad, then we'll go to Kyron.
Conrad Cushman, everything pro wrestling. You can find me on Twitter at EPW Show, Instagram EPW Show. Google my name on YouTube. Give me a subscribe to the channel. And what did I just do? So this week I did a podcast about Sasha Banks and Luke Harper and everybody leaving WWE and the morale issues that they're having. And yesterday on Brainbuster Radio, make sure you subscribe to that podcast as well. Find it on Podbean, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I did a 420 list because I knew it was coming out today on Rob Van Dam's top 10 matches. So make sure you guys go and check that out.
Really?
Yep.
You really did that?
Facts.
Yeah, he had to 420 Rob Van Dam, and he's the lead guy, so for wrestling. So, all right, Kyron, go ahead.
You know you can follow me on my Instagram. Follow me on Twitter, Splashbro Kyron, Instagram, Splashbro_Kyron, Tumblr and DeviantArt, Kyron Chase, YouTube account Kyron Chase. I do videos on wrestling, Sonic the Hedgehog, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And with the day being the 200th episode of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, I plan on doing a review of the episode later tonight.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. I got some stuff coming up for you guys. Like I got a debate next week, but this is gonna be a little different. It's gonna be theme songs, but it's in a bracket, so I'm gonna try something different. I got the bracket filled out. I got my man Mountie going to be on here next week because he said he wanted to be on this one, so I got him on next week. I got the bracket filled out already, so we'll go to the bracket, and then I've got some other debates coming up. Another NFL one day with the top 10 Super Bowls. I don't know why I want to do that one, but I'm gonna have that one.
That's gonna be fun.
We're gonna do top 10 Super Bowls. I'm gonna have that one, and then we're gonna do top 10 NBA Finals as well. NBA Finals. We're gonna do that one.
Hold up. Finals games or finals series? There's a difference.
Series.
Okay, that's easier.
Final series. Games is gonna be a lot hard. That'd be a lot harder than just one game in general. But final series, and then we'll do some more Disney stuff too. I got one that I'll probably have Kyron on. I got a bracket for that one too. I got a bracket for Nickelodeon Disney that I just filled out, just made, so I'm gonna do that one. So I need to get that one set. I think I got it up there somewhere. Yeah, I got Disney and Nick, and then I have Cartoon Network, and then I'm gonna do another bracket. I gotta put together soon. So make sure you guys tune in for that one in the future, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channels.